Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. It was a violent long weekend that saw nearly a dozen shootings across Toronto, claiming the lives of several people, including a 15-year-old boy. A memorial is growing tonight for Mario Giddings, the young victim killed last night in this plaza on Trethui Drive at Black Creek Drive. And the gun violence continues. Tonight, just a kilometer and a half north of here at Lawrence and Black Creek, police say they responded to reports of gunshots with several males seen fleeing the scene. Tyler Cheese has more on this latest rash of shootings that has some on edge.
The investigation does show at this point that he was targeted.
Police revealing details in the death of 15-year-old Mario Giddings.
There were multiple rounds fired at the deceased. At this point, the investigative team is out there currently right now. As you can appreciate, it's very early on in the investigation, and yesterday being a holiday, a lot of the businesses were closed, so therefore the video canvass pretty much has started. So we are gathering as much information as we can at this point.
Officers were called to this plaza parking lot on Trethui Drive at Black Creek Drive around 7:45 Monday evening. Giddings was found with life-threatening injuries and rushed to hospital where he later died. Police say a dark-colored vehicle was seen fleeing the plaza after a gun was discharged. This shooting was just one of 11 that occurred in Toronto between Friday and Monday.
There were 5 firearm discharges, 3 shootings with injuries, and 3 homicides. These shootings took place from one end of the city to the other, and at this time we do not have information that they are linked in any way.
Investigators say they're taking this spike in gun violence seriously.
I can tell you right now that some of these shootings on the weekend we have leads on, and we're actively working them right now, and we expect to get some arrests from that.
But experts say they've noticed a worrying trend.
Gun violence in the city of Toronto continues to trend younger and younger. And this is due to decades of purposeful disinvestment in our most vulnerable communities.
He says with the rising cost of living, he's expecting this trend to continue as young people turn to crime to make ends meet.
If you want a young person to, instead from holding a gun in their hand, rather hold the tools they need to be productive citizens, we need to provide them an opportunity.
He's calling on all levels of government to invest more to ensure that young people can secure good, reliable jobs. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
It was the first day of school for thousands of students across the GTA. This school year will include some big changes for students, including new restrictions surrounding cell phone use. And as Dale Manukduk tells us, police and city officials also have an important reminder for drivers.
Welcome back to school, where kids and parents at Treadway Woodsworth Elementary in Scarborough were greeted by the mayor and other officials. So, what's everyone looking forward to?
I'm excited about bringing my toys.
Probably just learning new things. But more importantly, I like the sports teams here at Treadway.
I am so excited for first day of school, meeting a new teacher, meeting new friends, meeting new challenges.
One of those challenges is the new cell phone ban. Kids from kindergarten to grade 6 must have their phones on silent and out of sight for the entire school day. Grade 7 to 12 students cannot use their devices during class time.
I don't think they're going to enforce it. I think it's too hard to enforce. I think everyone has a cell phone.
But I've seen some kids on their phone. I'm assuming some of the teachers are going to be like some are strict and then some are more chill like usual, but I feel like we got to wait a week and then we'll see how people are going to be.
Students aren't the only ones learning. Educators are on their own curve enforcing the new cell phone restrictions and what might work within their classroom routines.
We expect these first couple of weeks to be one where we focus more on education proactively with students. And of course, if a cell phone is used in class and it is not time for a cell phone to be used, educators may use bins, they may use reminders, they may use a variety of strategies to ensure that the cell phone is put away.
Police say drivers have to unlearn some bad habits like distracted driving, which is a huge problem.
Please do not drive with your phone in your hand. We have received great information when we've talked to drivers and they've been pulled over. Kids in the car are actually telling the drivers, they're telling their dads, put down your phone.
Cops will be on the lookout for that as well as speeding and will ticket and educate motorists when appropriate. There's plenty to mitigate fast cars, including 75 automated speed enforcement cameras, with another 75 coming next year, plus more red light cameras. There's also 879 trained crossing guards stationed across the city, and
there are school safety zones at 565 schools around Toronto that feature clear zone, safety zone signage, pavement markings, flashing beacons, and more.
The mayor says the city is on track to add 80 more school safety zones by the end of the year. There's also 1,400 pedestrian Head Start signals already in place, with 100 more on the way. The city is also reducing speeds to 30 kilometers per hour in Etobicoke, North York, and Scarborough, something that's already in place in downtown. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
The TTC is launching a new tool on an app that it hopes will help riders get around the city more easily. Here's the gist of it. When an unexpected service disruption happens, the new feature will pull real-time data and alert you to a new route. Chris Glover takes a closer look.
We've all dealt with them. Disruptions on the TTC throwing your trip off course. The disruption can come from anywhere: extreme weather events, unplanned events like protests or demonstrations, or on-street emergencies.
It's very frustrating because my ultimate is to get somewhere and I need to be on time, and it's just wasting my time. And by the time I get there, I'm already late, and my friend's like, "Oh, where have you been?" I'm like, "The streetcar."
I get a little bit annoyed, but I mean, it is what it is. I just wish there was somewhere at the stop or something that would tell me that it's diverging, maybe, so then I could at least move to the other stop.
Now the app Transit is helping riders get a bit more peace of mind in Toronto, not necessarily speeding up your trip, but letting you know where you're headed, even in tumultuous traffic. Here's how it works. If you're already on Transit, the app automatically detects and displays unplanned TTC bus and streetcar diversions in real time and shows TTC customers where their route is being forced to detour to. The section of the route not being served during the detour will be marked with dashed lines, and closed stops will be shown on the map with an X icon.
It really takes a lot of work and a lot of collaboration with the transit agency staff to figure out, okay, where are detours happening? What do they look like? Where are the temporary stops? Because our machine learning has to be ground truthed by folks on the ground to say, actually, yes, here's where the stops are being located. So that way we make sure we're giving correct information to riders.
If you aren't already on and your stop suddenly becomes unavailable, it'll show you your next closest stop. And in order for the app to work, it needs 3 transit vehicles to take that same detour in order for your ride to be updated.
And so it does need a certain number of buses to start detouring before they can figure out, okay, there is something going on here. And then they match it to existing routes to say, this is where the buses are now going, this is where you can catch it.
Okay, are there any kind of complications with that, having 3 other vehicles go ahead of, if I'm on a bus, the second one, it's not going to update in time for me, so I might not have the information. Is that it?
Yeah, if you're on one of those first 3, it's still not sort of instantaneous. They're not able to, the moment a bus turns a corner, identify that there's a detour, which is probably for the better, because not every time a bus takes a wrong turn, the next 4 or 5 are going to necessarily take the same wrong turn.
Transit is a free app, and it's already being used by more than 300,000 TTC riders each month. The TTC is the first public transit agency in Ontario to officially launch this new tool, but in Montreal, it's already become a permanent feature after a successful trial. The app makers and the TTC want your feedback on the new tool, including using the TTC's Rate My Ride site that already gets more than 100,000 responses a month. It'll be a year-long pilot project in Toronto, and if the year goes well, it'll become a permanent thing here as well. Chris Glover, CBC News.
Congestion crisis, with drivers spending a record amount of time behind the wheel. With so much gridlock, is all that time we spend in traffic making us angrier? Shannon Martin hit the road looking for answers.
Congestion, construction, traffic in Toronto is...
I live in this intersection. It's almost impossible to get out during non-rush hours, so we have to plan our day around it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Do you drive or?
Not if I have a choice.
So when you think about traffic in Toronto,
it's increasing day by day.
and very hard to like driving in the weekdays.
It's crazy that you have to plan your day around traffic.
100%, because like I try not to leave downtown as much as possible during weekdays.
It sure feels like it's getting worse. 86% of people recently surveyed by the Toronto Region Board of Trade say the city is in a congestion crisis.
Well, by Toronto's own admission, traffic congestion in the city is at an unprecedented level.
According to rankings by the TomTom Travel Index, Toronto is third worst for traffic, trailing only London in top spot and Dublin, which is second.
Last year, the average Toronto driver was stuck in traffic for 118 hours.
Stuck and frustrated. So is Toronto traffic making us angrier? The videos go viral for a reason. They are shocking, disturbing, and can be downright dangerous.
It was enough for them to stop and then ultimately get out of their vehicles. And as you can see in those videos, rolling around the highway, incredible. I'm just speechless.
A recent study by CAA South Central Ontario found more than half of Ontario motorists admit to risky and unsafe driving in the past year. That number jumps to 61% among young drivers ages 18 to 34.
And there were a variety of behaviors we asked them about and what they admitted to engaging in. But the top 5 were speeding, distracted driving, unsafe lane changes, aggressive driving, and running red lights. Some of those behaviors could actually be leading to some of these instances of increased road rage.
When it comes to tracking reported incidents of road rage, it's not that easy. I reached out to Toronto Police and the OPP. Neither tracks specific data around the issue, but professors of psychology like Laura Kavanagh are keeping tabs.
The definition that I think is helpful is to think of road rage as any incident where aggressive driving triggers an act of violence, verbal, physical, or otherwise, against another person, whether you're inside or outside your car. I did find a survey in 2015 where 1/3, so 33% of drivers reported an incident within the last month. And a second study in 2022 found that 80% reported a road rage incident in the last month. So I really do think it's going up.
So you study human behavior. What do you think it is that seems to be making GTA drivers more angry behind the wheel?
I think there's a number of factors that go into road rage as a phenomenon. We definitely know research shows that congestion is a big issue. So we tend to get more frustrated in situations where we're not moving, where we feel like we can't get to our destination, where there's that feeling of a loss of control. I think it's analogous to the same way that people are more aggressive behind the keyboard where they're anonymous than they would be in the real world, right? And someone might say something in an online comment or post something that they wouldn't say to someone standing next to them in the supermarket. And the car, being in a car, gives us a sense of anonymity and de-individuation.
It's 3:30 at Front and Spadina. If you know, you know. This intersection can be total gridlock at rush hour. To help try to ease things, the City of Toronto expanded its traffic agents program last year. That's these special constables whose job it is to keep things moving.
Their workspace is the intersection itself. The traffic agents have to continuously keep their heads on a swivel. They're continuously checking their surroundings, the situations, and they're almost strategically expecting how drivers will behave.
The frustration, especially around the traffic, the Gardner construction just seems to be that much higher.
But that's what the traffic agents are here. At least, you know, in this chaotic city, there's some organization involved, and the city's really putting a lot of pressure in terms of making sure that traffic is continuously moving in an organized flow, especially along these main corridors, right? So Spadina, you know, Jarvis, Yonge Street, Bay Street, all these corridors that lead down to Lakeshore and onto the Gardner. Honestly, I love traffic, and it's tackling an issue. It's solving a problem, and it's actually solving a problem.
You're the first person I heard that says I love traffic.
I think somebody else said that.
The way you're framing it, right? Because for most people, they're just stuck in it. But you're working towards the solution.
I just want people to be aware that traffic agents are in downtown going. They're actually there to make sure we're getting home as fast as possible.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're helping.
Absolutely.
That's what you're
That's
doing.
the main word, helping.
All right. Perfect. We are on the road now with somebody who is behind the wheel a lot, driving instructor Corey. So if you are driving and somebody cuts you off, or they do that thing, that brake checking, where they go in front of you and they hit the brakes, like, what would you tell one of your driver students? Like, what's the best course of action if you suddenly find yourself involved in one of these situations?
I think it's really important to be aware of your surroundings first of all, and then also try to cooperate with other drivers on the road by turning on your hazard lights. I found that's been very effective if you have to brake suddenly, and you want to try to keep as much space as possible from the other driver who's acting aggressively, and you want to try to get away from them if possible. We also, worst case scenario, if you feel like you're in grave danger and you need immediate help, you can always call 911, of course, but if it's a situation that doesn't warrant calling 911, you can always call non-emergency police lines just to report other vehicles as well if you think it's necessary.
Now, if you feel like you find yourself becoming frustrated or angry, what would your advice be to a driver then?
Yeah, my advice would be to definitely take some deep breaths and try your best to find a safe place to pull over and just recompose yourself.
Yeah. And hey, I feel like we've all been there. Like, I know there's times when I feel myself getting frustrated and angry, and it's like, okay, you really, like you said, taking that pause and a few breaths and remind yourself, like, what I'm doing right now it could be dangerous.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. We want to make sure that people have the mindset that a driver's license is not a right, but it is a privilege. So we want to make sure that everyone who has a driver's license is equipped with the knowledge and understanding of what it means to be a responsible driver.
Experts say when it comes to serious road rage incidents, drivers are often already facing elevated stress. So worries about work, relationship problems, or scraping together enough money for rent or mortgage payments. It is important to try to manage those day-to-day stresses because sitting in traffic can be triggering. Something else we've all heard before but is worth repeating: give yourself enough time to get to where you're going, because every second stuck in gridlock can feel catastrophic. Easier said than done, but traffic congestion in the GTA is here to stay. That we all know is true, so we've all got to live with it.
Perfectly.
Welcome back. The CNE has wrapped for another year. Today, the cleanup was in full swing. And to avoid unnecessary waste, food vendors are donating their excess stock to help feed those in need. Greg Ross has more.
I think there's 100 kilos of frozen chicken tenders. There's bison burgers and all kinds of burgers and frozen goods.
Longtime food vendor Adam Cohen runs 8 booths in the food building at the CNE. When the X closed yesterday, he still had 2 skids of food left over, which is not uncommon. In past years, he's always found somewhere to donate his leftover stock.
We've been sending our leftovers to some local organizations.
But he says not all vendors were doing the same.
In the past, yeah, I've seen the composter and the garbage room just get filled with people just dumping.
This year, the CNE has found a way to make it easier for other vendors to follow Cohen's lead. Instead of dumping excess food, vendors are handing it over to be donated.
We wanted to find the distribution capacity that we could get it out there into the network and get it out there fast.
So they brought in Second Harvest, a food rescue charity.
Second Harvest delivers surplus food to over 300 charity and nonprofit partners across the city and thousands more right across the country. So there are thousands and thousands of people that'll benefit from this food.
Second Harvest expects to have a lot of the perishable items that are being donated here today in the hands of people in need within hours of leaving this building.
Perishable food recovery is our expertise at Second Harvest. So proteins, produce, dairy, it's something that we're very well versed in turning around very quickly, sometimes as soon as the very same day.
It's not only going to feed hungry people, it's also better for the environment.
Surplus food going to landfill is contributing directly to our climate crisis, when in reality it's perfectly good food that can be redistributed to charity and nonprofit partners and feed people in need.
The CNE expects to donate around 25,000 pounds of food to Second Harvest. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Kelda, certainly a crisp, a cooler start, more fall-like, more back to school is what I'm thinking for the first day of school today. Not as cool tomorrow morning, but you might want to pack the sweater tomorrow morning. Quick look at your back to school forecast for tomorrow. Starting the day, 15, 16 degrees across the GTA tomorrow. Bright sunshine throughout the day. Lunchtime, 22 degrees and up to 25 in the later afternoon at home time. So we're looking at another warm one tomorrow. I'm calling it a bit more comfortable, even though temperatures like these more summer-like than back to school. But those temperatures are coming, and I'll show you that in your long-range forecast here, because we are looking at some weather and some wet weather moving through in time for the weekend. So mainly sunny skies to start Wednesday. Once again, maybe a little bit of high, thin cloud throughout the day today. Carbon copy as we get through into Thursday as well. But this is what I'm watching here. This feature through northern and central Ontario, this cold front attached to an area of low pressure, not only bringing us some showers through the later part of Friday into Saturday, but certainly it will cool our temperatures off as we head into the long range as well. I know a few days out yet, but still worth mentioning this particular forecast model as we get into Friday, not doing the best job depicting some of the cloud cover that will build in, certainly as we get into Friday, but even as we get into the Friday morning time period, we could see some of that shower activity start to move in. So prepare for a wetter end to Friday, maybe worth packing an umbrella for Friday in particular, but that's a little ways out yet. So daytime highs today, low 20s across the region, 22 in Toronto, 23 in Hamilton, low 20s through southwestern Ontario as well. Looking at some of your wake-up temperatures tomorrow, not quite as cool, no single digits like we saw this morning, but temperatures Sarnia, London, Kitchener, 13 degrees, 15 first thing in the morning in Toronto. Bright, sunny, clear skies throughout the day tomorrow, and we keep that sunshine and the warmer temperatures as we get through Wednesday. Here's a look at some of your afternoon temperatures here. 25 for Windsor and Sarnia, 23 in Hamilton, the Niagara region, getting at about 25 degrees tomorrow afternoon. Fairly seasonal for this time of the year. We should be around that 23, 24 degree mark throughout the afternoon. And that's what we keep as we get into Thursday, fairly seasonal, comfortable conditions, and then we start to see the clouds building in for Friday, late day showers as we head into Saturday. Chance of showers continues on Sunday, Kelda, and temperatures really diving by the time we get to the weekend, and that trend continues into early next week as well.
Thanks so much, Riley.